The arena was older than most empires. Built from black stone and alien steel, it rose like a scar on the surface of the planet. Millions of beings filled the seats, shouting, screaming, hungry for blood. This place was not for honor, it was for death. Below the roaring crowd, the sand floor was stained dark from years of fights. Chains rattled as gladiators were dragged into the open. Some were tall, some were small, some had claws, some had armor grown into their skin. All of them were tired. All of them were afraid. The crowd did not care. High above the arena floor, glowing screens showed numbers, kills, victories, survival time, lives reduced to statistics. Among the gladiators stood one alien who had survived longer than most. His body was covered in scars, old and new, one eye no longer opened fully. His breathing was slow, controlled, forced. Once he had a name. Now the crowd called him the Beast. He had won again and again, not because he loved fighting, but because losing meant death. A mechanical voice echoed through the arena. Final match approaching. Winner returns, loser dies. The crowd cheered louder. In the highest seats, nobles laughed and placed bets. Merchants argued over prices. Children watched with wide eyes, learning what this galaxy called entertainment. And among all of them sat one human. He looked small compared to the others. No armor, no symbols of rank, just simple clothes and tired eyes. Humans were rare here. Most thought they were weak, too soft, too emotional. The human did not cheer. He did not shout. He did not place bets. He watched the gladiator, not the fight. The Beast felt the eyes on him and looked up. Most spectators stared with hunger or hate. This one was different. The human's face showed no excitement, only focus and something else. Something the gladiator had not seen in many cycles. Concern. The gates slammed open. Another fighter entered the arena. Larger, heavily armed, the crowd screamed for violence. The fight began. Blades clashed, claws tore into flesh, sand sprayed into the air. The Beast moved on instinct alone. Dodge, strike, survive. Pain no longer mattered. Minutes passed like hours. Finally, the other gladiator fell. The arena erupted. The Beast stood alone, bleeding, breathing hard, waiting for the next order. He already knew what it would be. Fight again until he could not stand. The mechanical voice returned, louder now. Victory confirmed. Gladiator designated for immediate reuse. The crowd roared. That was when the humans stood up. At first, no one noticed. One small figure rising in a sea of monsters. Then a nearby alien laughed. Look, the human wants a better view. But the human did not sit back down. He raised his hand. The arena officials froze. Interruptions were rare. Interruptions from humans were unheard of. The mechanical voice paused. Identify request. The human spoke clearly, calmly. I want to make a purchase. The crowd burst into laughter. This is not a market, someone shouted. Go home, human. The Beast stared up, confused. No one had ever spoken during his matches. Not for him. An official leaned forward, annoyed. What do you want to buy? The human did not look at the official. His eyes stayed on the gladiator below. I want to buy his freedom. The arena fell silent. Even the crowd stopped breathing for a moment. Then the laughter returned, louder than before. Freedom. From the arena. With human money. Officials exchanged looks. One of them sneered. You know the price. The human nodded. I do. A number appeared on the screens, so high that many in the crowd gasped. The Beast felt something twist inside his chest. It was impossible. No one paid that price. No one paid for a gladiator to walk away. The human reached into his account. The screen beside his seat flickered. Credits transferred. Every last one. The number reached 0. A low murmur spread through the arena. The laughter faded. Something had changed. The human stood there with empty hands. No wealth, no power, nothing left below. The Beast stared up at him. For the first time in his life, someone had chosen him, not for blood, not for death, but for freedom, and the galaxy was about to notice. The arena did not explode into noise again. Instead, it stayed quiet. A heavy silence pressed down on millions of spectators. The officials stared at the glowing screens. The transfer was complete. The human's account showed nothing, 0 credits. One official leaned back in his chair, disturbed. No one spends everything, he said. Not for a gladiator, another official growled. Humans are strange. Below them, the alien gladiator stood frozen in the sand. He did not cheer. He did not bow. He did not understand. Freedom was not a word used in the arena. It was a story told to children, a lie to keep hope alive. The mechanical voice returned. Slower this time. Transaction received. Request under review. The crowd began to murmur. Some laughed again. Some shouted angrily. This ruins the match. We came for blood. Send the human away. The human did not move. He remained standing calm, as if he had expected resistance. An official activated a private channel. You know this breaks tradition. Gladiators are property. Property does not walk free. The human finally looked away from the arena floor. He looked at the officials. Then why sell them? He asked. The channel went silent. Rules were pulled up, old laws written by dead empires. Hidden clauses few remembered. One rule flickered on the screen, buried deep, ignored for centuries. If full value is paid before death, ownership may be transferred. Ownership, not freedom. The officials smiled, relieved. We will transfer ownership to you. One said, you may take him. The crowd cheered again, satisfied. A human owning a broken gladiator was still entertainment. The beast felt his chest tighten. Ownership meant chains. Just different hands. The human shook his head. I do not want to own him. He said, I want him released. The officials stared, confused. That is not how it works. Make it work, the human replied. Anger rose among the officials. You have no leverage, one snapped. You are broke. The human nodded. Yes, then he added quietly. But you already took my price. The arena screens showed the transfer again. The proof could not be erased. Millions were watching. Across the galaxy, feeds had gone live. What started as a match had become a moment. Protests began in distant worlds. Questions flooded networks. If freedom can be bought, why do gladiators exist? The officials felt pressure they had not felt in ages. The system had survived wars. It had not planned for morality. One official slammed his claw on the console. Unlock the chains, he ordered. Gasps echoed across the arena. The locks around the gladiator's wrists glowed, then clicked open. Chains fell into the sand. The beast flinched, waiting for pain that did not come. Guard pushed him forward. Go, the guard muttered. Unsure, the gladiator took one step, then another. No one stopped him. He reached the edge of the arena. The gate opened. Light spilled in from outside. He stopped, turned back, looked up at the human. Their eyes met. The beast searched for commands, for ownership, for expectations. The human gave none. You are free. The human said, nothing more. The beast tried to speak. His voice failed him. Words were not trained into gladiators. He placed one hand over his chest, a gesture older than language. Then he walked out. The crowd did not cheer. They watched, silent, unsure how to feel. Security drones surrounded the human. Officials whispered urgently, you will leave now, one said. For your own safety. The human nodded and turned away. No guards escorted him with honor. No rewards followed. He left the arena with empty pockets and a tired smile. Behind him, the galaxy argued, systems trembled, and a single freed gladiator stepped into a future he had never imagined. Far above the planet, signals spread faster than fear. A message repeated across the stars. A human paid the price and chose mercy over blood, and this was only the beginning. The arena had never felt like this before. Millions of voices were present, yet none of them spoke. The freed gladiator stood just outside the gate. Light touched his skin in a way the arena never allowed. Real light, not the harsh glow of battle lamps. He did not know where to go. Freedom had no path, no rules, no chains to guide him. Behind him, the arena doors remained open, as if waiting for someone to shout that it was all a mistake. Inside the arena, officials stared at their consoles. Crowds leaned forward in silence. This moment had no script. The human walked slowly toward the exit tunnel. No guards followed him closely. No cheers rose for him. Some aliens stared with anger, others with confusion. A few with something close to shame. The commentators did not know what to say. Words failed them. Blood had always filled the gaps before. The freed gladiator turned back again. He saw the human walking away, small, alone, with nothing left. Something inside the gladiator cracked. He had fought monsters. He had survived pain. But this felt heavier. He stepped forward, then stopped. Fear pulled at him harder than chains ever had. In the arena, a noble hissed loudly, "This is weakness." Another answered, "No, this is expensive." On distant worlds, viewers leaned closer to their screens. This was not entertainment anymore. This was history. The gladiator raised his voice. It was rough, unused, human, he called. The human stopped and turned. For a moment, the entire arena held its breath. The gladiator struggled to find the right words. Language had been beaten out of him long ago. "You paid," he said slowly. "You gained nothing." The human nodded. "I gained your life," he replied. The words spread across the arena like a shockwave. Somewhere high above, a child asked a parent, "Why did he do that?" The parent had no answer. Security drones hovered closer. Officials whispered urgently. The arena was losing control of the narrative. The freed gladiator stepped closer. Each step felt unreal. No pain followed. No command forced him forward. "I was made to fight," he said. "I was made to die." The human listened. He did not interrupt. "I was never made to live," the gladiator continued. The human spoke softly. "Now you can decide." The gladiator looked down at his hands. Hands that had killed. Hands that now shook around them. The crowd remained silent. Some viewers disconnected their feeds. Unable to watch something they could not understand, others stayed, unable to look away. A signal burst across galactic networks. Clips replayed again and again. The moment the chains fell, the moment the human spoke, protests began in small numbers, then larger ones, outside minor arenas. Outside betting halls, the system felt pressure. Not from armies, but from eyes. The gladiator straightened his back. He bowed his head toward the human. A warrior's gesture, one of respect. "I will remember this," he said. The human shook his head gently. "Live," he said. "That is enough." The gladiator turned toward the stars beyond the arena walls. Ships waited. Paths opened. For the first time, he chose a direction, inside the arena. The silence broke, not with cheers, but with questions. What happens now? Can others be freed? Who decides the price? Officials shut down screens one by one, trying to contain what could not be contained. The human disappeared into the crowd, no longer important to them. And yet more dangerous than any rebel, the freed gladiator took his first step into the wider galaxy. No armor, no chains, no orders behind him. The arena still stood, but something inside it had broken. The silence it left behind was louder than any scream, and the galaxy would never forget the moment it learned that mercy could echo louder than violence. The reaction did not come all at once. It spread slowly, like fire moving through dry air. Across the galaxy, screens replayed the same moment again and again. The chains falling, the human standing empty-handed, the gladiator walking away. At first, people laughed. They called it foolish. Wasteful human weakness. Then the questions began on trade worlds. Merchants paused mid-deal. If freedom can be bought, they asked, why is it sold? On military planets, officers watched in silence. A single unarmed human had disrupted a system older than their fleets. On poor moons, former fighters gathered around broken screens. Some cried, some clenched their fists. All of them remembered the sound of chains. Protests began quietly. A few voices outside minor arenas, holding signs, asking for names instead of numbers. Arena owners ignored them. At first, then sponsors pulled out. Advertisers feared association. Viewership dropped in places where blood once sold easily. The Gladiator councils met in emergency sessions. Rulers argued behind sealed doors. This was an exception, one shouted. We cannot allow a precedent, another replied. The precedent already exists. The freed gladiator traveled far from the arena. His name spread with his story. He spoke to his people, to others like him. He did not call for revenge. He spoke of choice. Of the moment, someone saw him as more than a weapon. Many listened. The human, meanwhile, vanished from the feeds, no interviews, no rewards, no safety. He moved through crowded stations, working small jobs, sleeping where he could. Some recognized him, most did not. Once, a dock worker whispered, "You are the one from the arena," the human nodded, and kept moving on the capital world of the Galaxy Council. Alarms rang. Emergency session declared. Representatives from dozens of species gathered. They argued loudly. This threatens economic stability. This inspires unrest. This exposes moral weakness. Then a smaller voice spoke. A representative from a species once used in the arenas. If one human can do this, she said. What does that say about all of us? Silence followed. Outside the council halls, crowds gathered. Not chanting, just watching. The idea had spread too far to kill. Too fast to contain. Arena security increased. Chains grew heavier, rules tightened, but fear had entered the system. Some gladiators began refusing to fight. Others fought harder, not for survival, but for the hope someone might be watching. On one distant world, a noble attempted to buy a gladiator as a pet. The crowd turned on him, mocked him, shamed him. This had never happened before. The human received a message at an old terminal. Encrypted, urgent. It was an invitation. From the Galaxy Council, he stared at it for a long time. He had no credits to travel, no protection. Then another message arrived. From the freed gladiator. We are not finished, it read. The human closed the terminal. He did not smile, but his shoulders relaxed across the stars. Something had shifted, not laws, not power structures, belief. People no longer asked if humans were strong. They asked why humans chose differently. In quiet corners of the galaxy, parents told children a new kind of story, not about heroes who killed monsters, but about one who paid the price and walked away. The arenas still stood, the fights still happened, but the cheers were weaker, the silence lasted longer, and deep inside every system, a dangerous question echoed. If one life could be worth everything, what was the true cost of cruelty? The Galaxy Council chamber had seen wars begin and empires end, but it had never felt like this. Representatives from dozens of species filled the vast circular hall. Some wore armor, some wore silk, some carried scars that no clothes could hide. At the center of the room stood one human. No guards beside him, no wealth behind him. No symbols of power, just a man who had nothing left. The council speaker raised a claw. Human, he said. You have disrupted an entire system, the human nodded. I know. You caused unrest, economic loss, social instability, the human listened. He did not argue, Why? The speaker demanded. Why spend everything on one life? The room leaned in. This was the question echoing across the stars. The human took a breath. I did not spend everything, he said. I spent what I had. Murmurs spread through the chamber. A representative from a former gladiator species stepped forward. Our people were hunted, she said. Used, broken. She turned to the human. You did what armies could not, another voice followed. Then another. Stories poured out of lost siblings, of names erased, of lives reduced to entertainment. The council struggled to regain control. Then the doors opened. The freed gladiator entered the chamber. No chains, no armor, just scars and steady steps. Gasps echoed through the hall. He bowed his head, not to the council, but to the human. I stand here because of him, the gladiator said. I was property. Now I choose. Silence fell again. The council speaker looked shaken. You demand change, he said. No, the gladiator replied. We demand recognition. Across the galaxy. The feed streamed live. Millions watched, waiting. The human stepped forward one last time. I did not come to end arenas, he said. I came because one life mattered to me. He looked around the chamber. If that scares you, he continued, then maybe it should. The council withdrew to vote. Time stretched, outside, crowds gathered, not shouting. Just waiting. Finally, the doors reopened. The decision was announced. Gladiator system suspended pending reform. Ownership laws under review. Lives reclassified. It was not perfect, but it was real. The human was dismissed. No medals, no titles. As he left the chamber, the freed gladiator walked beside him. What will you do now? The gladiator asked. The human shrugged. Live, he said. They parted ways. Both free in different ways. Months passed across the galaxy. Stories changed. Humans were no longer called weak. They were called unpredictable, dangerous, not because of weapons, but because of choice. On distant worlds, arenas closed. On others, chains fell quietly, and in small places, where no cameras watched, people chose mercy. The galaxy learned a lesson it could never unlearn. Humans were not defined by how much power they held, but by what they were willing to give up, and that truth echoed longer than any scream.